I am not saying Lewis Hamilton is washed because Nico Hulkenberg overtook him in a Sauber with fresher tires in the final lap of the 2025 Spanish Grand Prix. I am saying it after looking at the entire ground effect era and how Hamilton has consistently struggled to adapt to the technical characteristics of the car. When a driver struggles that much to adapt to a car, and change or evolve his driving style to fit the car after a set of regulation changes, that's when you know that their learning ability is low, it is decreasing or has decreased, and they are in the twilight stage of their career. Hamilton's driving style is much more suited to the cars of the previous generation. So I'll give you a quick example. When taking a corner, Lewis typically brakes later than the usual braking point, makes a sharp turn, and then accelerates, gets on the throttle immediately as early as possible. The ground effect era cars, they demand a different approach to optimize the lap time around the corner. So instead of braking hard deep into the corner, you kind of moderately brake and carry extra speed comparatively to the previous generation cars through the corner, and then you get on the throttle a little bit late compared to the previous generation of car. Obviously, I have oversimplified it a lot, but the broader point that I'm trying to make is that Lewis has struggled to make this transition in a dynamic way to suit himself, to evolve his driving style to suit the technical characteristics of the ground effect era cars. Younger drivers like Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, these guys, they have very quickly adapted and changed or evolved their driving style to fit the ground effect era cars. Lewis Hamilton so far has struggled to do so. When he was struggling in Mercedes and George Russell was actually more consistent compared to Lewis, if you go and look at their performances, I initially thought, okay, maybe it's the toxic environment of Mercedes who want to, push Lewis Hamilton out in order to make way for Kimi Antonelli. I kind of gave him the benefit of doubt, and obviously who wouldn't? Because it's Lewis Hamilton, right? And also, Mercedes car, their podless design, it was kind of weird. So we all kind of gave a little bit of benefit of doubt to Lewis. But now that he is in Ferrari and he has done 9 races, and if you look at the Spanish Grand Prix, the way that Charles Leclerc drove and the way that Lewis Hamilton drove, if you compare their performances, it's very clear. Lewis cannot keep the car stable while exiting corners and getting on the throttle. And again, it all goes back to his inability to adapt to suit the technical characteristics of the ground effect era cars. So when the next set of regulation change happens in 2026, it's probably going to happen again. He's probably going to struggle again to adapt his driving style or evolve his driving style to fit to the new technical characteristics of the new generation of cars compared to the younger drivers that are on the grids, younger and more hungrier drivers who are also not vegan. The reason why I'm saying about the veganism thing is that if you don't eat meat, your growth hormones will be low, your testosterone will be low, your ability to learn will be low, you will be less hungry to, you'll be less aggressive in general. Like the drive inside you, it decreases a little bit. And all of that, it affects your ability to learn. That's the only explanation I can come up with because Fernando Alonso seems to get along fine with the changing regulations. He drove Formula One cars in all sorts of eras, and he is still in it, like we are seeing the Fernando Alonso in the form of his life. Obviously, the current Aston Martin car is shit. That's why he is not putting out amazing performances. But if that car had potential, he would definitely be taking it to places that it certainly does not belong. So Lewis Hamilton needs to start eating meat, and we have to be open-minded at this point because it's not just Mercedes that he has struggled with in the ground effect era. He has also struggled significantly with the Ferrari so far. And in the post-race interview after the 2025 Spanish Grand Prix, he said that I don't know what I have learned. I don't know what it means. And he is clearly hopeless about how he will approach the upcoming race weekends. And in many race weekends where journalists have asked him, Like, are you feeling closer and connected to the car? In some instances, he said yes. But then again, in the next Grand Prix, if you follow his performance and his comfort and you listen to his interviews, that confidence again is gone. Whenever he feels that he has adapted to the changing conditions and the new car and all that type of stuff, it's very difficult for him to repeat the same thing in the next Grand Prix and carry the same amount of confidence and knowledge into the further and further Grand Prix. So yeah, if you consider all of this, yes, Lewis Hamilton is washed because his ability to adapt has decreased significantly. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm probably not. Only time can really tell us. So I guess we will see in the remainder of the season if he can close the gap to Charles Leclerc or not. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.